Welcome to reInvent 2021. My name is Angel Duncan. I am the Senior Manager of Global Student Engagement with Amazon Web Services Academy. Thank you for joining us this morning, this afternoon, this evening, from wherever you are in the world. I, along with this esteemed panel, are looking forward to discussing how AWS training and certification through its education programs is preparing diverse new talent for the modern cloud workforce. The aim of our session is to highlight the growing demand for diverse cloud talent. We're also going to discuss how AWS education programs is uniting industry and academia in an effort to address the cloud skills gap. And we're going to facilitate a fireside chat discussion that brings to the forefront the unique perspectives from academia, from a global employer, and from a recent education programs graduate that will all speak to the importance of building a diverse and prepared cloud talent pipeline. Professionals with cloud skills are in high demand, and organizations large and small are competing for talent and expertise. According to LinkedIn data, cloud computing is the #1 hard skill companies need most. And it's been ranked amongst the top skills for the last several years, last 5 years. A survey from 451 Research shows that 90% of IT decision makers cite cloud skills as an important skill, but that there is indeed a skills shortage. We've heard from our customers and partners around the world, and we understand from hearing from our customers that filling new cloud roles can be challenging. It's challenging to find cloud talent in general, but also challenging to find underrepresented minority and women talent in particular. The Great Resignation has introduced yet another nuance that's made it even more difficult to fill cloud roles. There simply are not enough applicants to meet the growing demand. This is a serious problem, and AWS is investing in education to help close the IT skills gap. Here's the bottom line. The existing cloud talent pool isn't big enough to meet demand, and that demand is everywhere in every industry. There is a need for organizations to enrich their talent pool with representatives from a range of different backgrounds to not only address the cloud skills gap, but also to diversify the cloud workforce overall. Research shows that diverse teams are smarter and more innovative. In a nutshell, building a team of diverse talent can help your organization thrive. By uniting industry and academia, AWS education programs prepares diverse learners for the modern workforce. AWS developed programs to offer individuals with various backgrounds at different stages in their career opportunities to develop and advance their AWS skills. AWS Academy provides higher education institutions, including minority-serving institutions such as Hispanic-serving institutions, historically Black colleges and universities, and tribal colleges with a free, ready-to-teach cloud computing curriculum that prepares students to pursue AWS certifications and in-demand cloud roles. AWS Educate, another of the education programs, accelerates cloud learning to prepare individuals for the cloud-enabled jobs of tomorrow. And AWS Restart is building a pipeline of non-traditional talent by preparing individuals from diverse backgrounds, including unemployed and underemployed individuals, for entry-level cloud positions. Hiring entry-level talent continues to be an effective strategy for organizations to stay ahead of the game. We are investing in early career talent, helping them to become lifelong AWS learners who can help your company thrive. With hands-on experience in the AWS cloud, our graduates have the skills and knowledge they need to add value on the job on day one. Today, we're going to chat with and receive insight from those who have firsthand experience with AWS education programs from an academic, employer, and graduate perspective. It is my honor to introduce you to our panelists today, starting with Dr. Haidar Maliki.
Thank you, Angel. My name is Haidar Maliki. I'm a professor and associate dean in the College of Technology, University of Houston.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maliki. And on next to Dr. Michael Soltis.
Hello, my name is Michael Soltis. I'm a professor and chair of the Department of Computer Science at California State University at the Channel Islands campus. I am also a principal scientist and a software engineer at GBL Systems. CSU Channel Islands is a Hispanic serving institution of about 7,000 students in Ventura County, just north of LA.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Dr. Soltis, and thank you for joining us. And Pritpal Bumrah.
Hello, everyone. I am Pritpal Bumrah. I am a senior director with Capgemini and currently managing the staffing and operations for the technology practices within the financial services North America. And as part of this role, I am responsible to build demand fulfillment strategy, which focuses on recruitment, onboarding, training, deployment, and engagement of entry-level resources, which is a key focus area. Thank you for having me on this talk.
You are very welcome. Thank you, Pritpal. And last and definitely not least, Dr. Moaline Honore.
Thank you. I'd love to be a doctor one day also.
I was going to say, you felt me catch that one.
My name is Moaline Honore, and I am an AWS Restart graduate. Currently, I am a GRC engineer interning at ByteCheck, which is a cybersecurity software company that makes compliance suck less.
Thank you, Moaline. Thank you. So again, thank you all for joining. Really looking forward to this fireside chat and this discussion. So over the next 45 minutes, we're going to have a fireside chat with our panelists to learn more about how AWS education programs have impacted their academic institution, their organization, their lives, and their career overall. So again, I want to thank each and every one of you for your time and for being a part of this very, very important discussion. So let's go ahead and jump right on in. So, Dr. Soltis, I'm gonna start with you, and I'm just curious, wanting to start the conversation off with understanding how does the need for a more diverse workforce in technology, how does that impact higher education?
As I mentioned in the introduction, our campus, CSU Channel Islands, is located in Ventura County, which is an agricultural county. And a degree in computer science can be a fast track up the socioeconomic ladder for our students. Most of our students come from rather modest backgrounds. Not only they, but their entire families can profit from a degree in computer science and the career that ensues. We are a Hispanic serving institution, an SHI, and for our students, a degree with knowledge of the cloud can be a passport to the top companies, not only in our region, but in the entire nation. And conversely, our companies look to us for the computing talent. There is a dearth of software engineers, of programmers, in particular of people with cloud skills. And our local companies are really keen on hiring our graduates. So there is a real nice symbiosis between us, our students, and the local employers. Our students, as I've said, are regional students. They want to stay in the area. This is where their families are. And that's also benefiting the companies. because the companies don't want to have turnover. They want to be able to grow their workforce, to have a stable workforce. And anecdotally, this is my own experience, underrepresented students from our area who are hired by a company tend to have a sense of loyalty toward the company for having given them their first chance.
That's wonderful. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for that, Dr. Soltis. Dr. Maliki, I kind of want to continue along those veins where we're talking about workforce development. From that perspective, from a workforce development perspective, what are you hearing about the need for a more diverse IT cloud talent pipeline?
Okay, first I will start by saying that computer and technology related jobs such as cloud computing, IT, and cybersecurity jobs are among top 10 occupations in Texas, according to Texas Workforce Commission. In fact, Texas Workforce Commission approved $3 million on apprentice program on IT-related fields in 2020. And employers in Greater Houston, as well as Texas, approached University of Houston to recruit students who have skills in IT, cloud computing, as well as cybersecurity fields. To this end, in collaboration with AWS Academy, we have created one undergraduate course in the College of Technology and the graduate course in the Department of Computer Science on AWS. And the corporate demands for employee with AWS cloud computing skills is a very high demand. We have offered 3 courses since we joined AWS Academy in 2018, and by now, more than 500 our own students have taken AWS architecture course, as well as more than 240 corporate courses. Corporate students have taken AWS architecture course.
Wow. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Maliki. So to hear 500 students have come through the program there at the University of Houston, that's impactful. That kind of ties into where I want to go next with Pritpal, coming to you to kind of get an employer organizational perspective, piggybacking off of what Dr. Maliki just shared, as well as what we talked about just a little earlier. We mentioned how hiring entry-level talent can be an effective strategy for organizations to stay ahead of the game. So, employing or bringing in talent like those 500 students from the University of Houston that might still be kind of early in their career. We're hearing that organizations are seeing that as somewhat of a game changer. From your perspective, specific to your organization, what types of roles or perhaps even projects have early career talent been a part of within your organization that's really had a positive impact on your business outcomes?
Sure. So typically the kind of roles that we look at, right, for the entry level candidates is, cloud administrators, junior developers, network engineers, and these are some of the roles where we have been successful in placing with our customers. So Capgemini does have a digital academy, right? And this program provides a platform for the graduates from AWS Restart, with whom we have collaborated from 2020, to continue building the foundational skills, right, that they need to build their career in the technology. Right, we have an incubation program that the AWS Restart graduates go through as part of the tailored onboarding, which is very relevant and for every customer that we have. Right, the benefit with AWS Restart is that these graduates are already trained and certified in foundational skills in AWS. Right, and the training that we provide in addition to that give them a head start and get them quickly engaged into our customers and start getting real life project experience while working there. Right, this initiative is very good as it helps us bring more diverse talent pool that we need and we want in our organization as we grow.
That's wonderful to hear about your partnership with the Restart program. I kind of want to go a little further into what you just shared, Pritpal, about how you all also kind of help with that transition of the graduates and that early career talent to help with them kind of getting acclimated to Capgemini, to the organization. To that point, what are some of the best practices you've created within your organization to create conditions under which early career talent can really come in and have the most impact? So, we hear a lot about mentorship programs and allyship programs and things along those lines. What do you all have in place in your organization to really help new hires, early career talent get started? But even more so, from an underrepresented minority talent perspective, what exists to connect that talent with maybe other underrepresented leaders within the organization to kind of facilitate that transition and connection?
Sure. So as a leader in digital transformation, Capgemini does have a responsibility to become a bridge between the technology, the business, and the society to shape a better future. Right. And thanks to the comprehensive cloud training which these candidates receive as part of the AWS Restart, plus the on-the-job training and mentorship that we provide by the Digital Academy program, right, they have been making like really good impact very quickly. Right. And moreover, their eagerness to learn and the willingness to be coached has helped us deliver on our clients' business needs. Right. We typically take the AWS Restart graduates through a set of training once they join Capgemini, and we assign a senior mentor who makes sure that they are not only just engaged but also help them navigate through the organization, since Capgemini is one of the top 4 organizations as well. The focus and the support that we have received from our executive leadership and the involvement from the operational and delivery teams has helped make this adoption of the entry-level graduates a successful program in Capgemini. Together with AWS Restart, we are able to provide a pathway to the technology careers for the people who wouldn't otherwise have these kind of opportunities, right? Plus, it has also helped us build a much more diverse and inclusive talent pool, right? So I'm really excited about the future and the collaboration that we are having with AWS Restart. And more importantly, right, so we have been leveraging and collaborating with AWS Restart since 2020, and these training programs are definitely a way to make sure that everybody has an equal opportunity in the tech roles and not just the privileged few.
That's wonderful. Thank you for that, Pritpal. I'm gonna come back, Dr. Malaki and Dr. Soltis, to you. I want to come back and kind of get your perspective overall with what has been your experience like from each of your institutions in collaborating with AWS education programs to prepare specifically women and underrepresented minority students for these entry-level IT cloud roles that we're hearing about with companies like Capgemini, or like you talked about a little earlier, Dr. Malaki, where you talked about the opportunities that exist regionally and locally there in Texas. And of course, we know tremendous opportunity exists in the IT and cloud space, also on the West Coast in your area there, Dr. Soltis. So can we just talk a little bit about what your experience is like and how do you all intentionally go about helping to identify and prepare women and underrepresented minority students for these roles that are out there in the workforce? I'll start with you, Dr. Soltis.
Well, AWS Educate has been instrumental in building a bridge from our undergraduate computer science program into the industry. And more than that, we not only teach undergraduates, we also have an AWS certificate program through AWS Academy. And we also have graduate students, and we have working professionals who come back to campus to upgrade their skills. And for me, from the very beginning, as chair of the department, it was important to build that link between our undergraduate program and the companies in the 101 technology corridor, which we have here. And working both on campus and at one of the companies, GBL is a Department of Defense contractor, I have been able to see both sides of the fence. I see the students who are graduating and becoming senior students with foundational skills, as well as cloud skills, because we have cloudified our curriculum. I see those very same students crossing to the other side and then working very often again under my supervision at GBL, where out of about 100 software engineers, 20 of them are from our company. Well, that leap, that jump from our undergraduate program into the industry has been enabled and accelerated by the partnership with AWS Educate, because the students have a marketable skill, and also they are able to build technique on top of a foundation. Our students don't have connections in the industry. Our students come from modest backgrounds, and these students need help finding their first job. Even though they're talented, even though they're hardworking, they need somebody to guide them through the process of getting hired. And AWS Educate has partnered with our career services on our campus, and it helps the students prepare their resumes. It helps the students in the interview process, even coaching them through that. This is amazing, and it's done at no cost, and it is a tremendous accelerant for our students. In a way, I find myself in an enviable place. On the one hand, I have young talent with skills in computer science and the cloud in particular. On the other hand, I have a lot of local companies who are clamoring for these students, not only private industry, but the largest US Navy base is in Port Hueneme on the West Coast, and they want to hire our students as well. One last thing I would like to add to this, to answer your question, Angel, is that it's very important for these students as they're being hired not to overemphasize, the word of diversity and inclusivity. Yes, we want to do that, but I think it is lethal for these students to feel that they have been hired by a company or an industry to just check a box. These students have to feel that they have been hired for their hard work and for their talent. And indeed, that is the reason they have been hired for.
That's a wonderful call out, Dr. Soltis. And it speaks to what we spoke about a little earlier in the presentation, where we talked about how research shows that companies who are committed to diversity, to your point, beyond just checking a box, but who are really committed to bringing in and creating opportunities for underrepresented minority talent to come into an organization, find that it helps that organization to be more smarter and even more innovative. And so it isn't about just checking a box, but making sure organizations are at the forefront of innovation and being able to really impact bottom line and provide the highest level of service even to their customers. So it is more than just about checking a box. So I agree with that. Dr. Maliki, I want to come to you. Same thing that I asked Dr. Soltis and what he just shared with us about. So what has been your experience like collaborating with AWS Academy or AWS Education Programs, Academy, Educate, and others to prepare women and underrepresented minority students for entry-level IT and cloud roles? What's your experience been like?
Angel, we are very fortunate to live in Houston. University of Houston is the second largest minority and Hispanic serving institution in the nation. More than 66% of our 47,000 enrollment are minorities. Thus, University of Houston is uniquely positioned to provide workforce training for minorities, women, and underrepresented groups. In fact, our college, College of Technology, became one of the AWS Academy institution in 2017, and we started offering AWS Cloud Computing in 2018. As I mentioned earlier, we have offered courses almost every semester, 3 courses every semester with more than 50 students in each semester. And the College of Technology at UH also offer undergraduate and graduate programs in computer information systems, computer engineering technology, cybersecurity, and network communications with more than 1,600 students in these fields. And the University of Houston is also going to offer a certificate, a series of like let's say 3 or 4 courses based on Amazon AWS cloud computing in the near future because of the high demand from corporate industries. Angel, I also like to give you some successful stories in conjunction with our collaboration with AWS. One of them is we have a student who was hired by AWS as a solution architect associate. And we have many students who work with companies such as Accenture and Deloitte providing cloud services. We also offer monthly webinars, workshops, and panels with cloud-related topics with speaker from industry as well as AWS. And finally, we are currently working with AWS to engage with AWS TechU program with our University of Houston.
That is wonderful. Thank you for that, Dr. Maliki. Thank you for sharing the success stories as well. That's really appreciated, and we've appreciated the partnership with the University of Houston and other institutions that have been partaking in not only the Academy program, but as you mentioned, the Restart program. TechU is another program within the education programs umbrella, and then Restart as well. So we just really appreciate that partnership because we are seeing the impact that it's having on really beginning to, impact the cloud pipeline of talent and making sure that underrepresented talent has a place at the table to have an opportunity to take advantage of these IT and cloud roles that exist across the country with organizations both large and small. So to that point, I want to kind of make a transition. Marlene, I haven't forgotten about you. We've kind of been focusing a little bit on the academic perspective, and we focus a little bit on the employer organizational perspective. A lot of what we've been talking about, you've walked through, you've gone through, you've experienced as a graduate of an AWS education program. So want to bring you into the conversation and have you just kind of briefly tell us what you did prior to joining AWS Restart. And then we're going to talk a little bit about your journey with the Restart program. But let's start there. What did you do prior to joining AWS Restart?
So thank you. So prior to joining AWS Restart, I was and still am a stay-at-home mom who also homeschools 2 of her boys. So I had begun studying AWS on my own when I found AWS Restart, and I wanted the support of a program to guide me through my studies.
And how did you find out about Restart, and what kind of perked your interest in that program in particular?
So I do a lot of research. So I was like, I just need a community that I could, commiserate with when things are going wrong or ask questions. And so I think, poking around the AWS website. I'm not quite sure how I got there, but I got there. And I saw there are a couple of tech companies who partnered with you guys to do to also find careers, and I was like, oh, I'd be interested in that. And at the time, I think there were just a couple I qualified for. Now there are so many more, so I'm so excited about that. And so I reached out to one, and then I became part of the program.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So we've heard from your fellow panelists about the importance of diversifying the cloud talent pipeline from an academic and an employer perspective. You're a Black woman who has started this journey of embarking on a career in tech. What has that meant? What is it? What has that experience been like? Being not only a woman in tech, but also a Black woman in tech, and kind of starting that career journey and pathway. Talk to us a little bit about that.
So as someone who falls within both categories, basically, of the underrepresented categories, I really feel fortunate to have made it thus far. I'm on LinkedIn a lot because I try to do networking, and I see a lot of my peers, Black women, military spouse, career changers, struggling to find that entry-level role and studying really hard by themselves without that support. And to have made it this far is really exciting. And the fact that I'm also competing against new grads or those who have been in tech all their lives made it even more challenging. But I am so grateful to have found my current company, who the CEO is also a minority, and they took a chance on me, and they didn't require prior experience like a lot of those jobs out there require. So I'm very grateful.
That's great. That's a wonderful segue. So tell us a little bit about your current company. Tell us a little bit about your current role. So you went through the Restart program, and now you're in your current role. Talk to us about that journey, and who you're currently working for, and what your current role is, what it looks like for you day to day.
Okay, so my current company is ByteCheck, and we're a cybersecurity company, and my role is GRC engineer, and that stands for governance, risk, and compliance. And so my role heavily relies on understanding our customers' business and the requirements for their cloud environment for security and compliance purposes. And so we have an automated platform that connects to their environment with that cloud and some on-prem stuff in the sense of HR or anything that has to do with security and how we can make it better. And then we provide reports for themselves and their customers so that they could show that they're serious about the security of their environment.
Wonderful. So are there any kind of what kind of projects, what are you working on that really kind of was aha for you? It bridged that connection or made that connection between what you were being prepared for in the training that you were receiving in Restart and what you're doing today. What kind of projects are you working on, and how was that connection made for you, making that transition from coming out of Restart into your current role?
So that's a great question. So right now I have a couple of clients that have been assigned to me. And so we ask them to provide evidence of their environment, especially the cloud environment, and knowing what a S3 bucket is or CloudFormation or whatever terms I've learned helps me to understand what I'm looking for. And I'm not just going in blindly saying, okay, fine, just give us this evidence, and have no idea what I'm talking about. But I know what the data stores are, where they should be located, what kind of security should have. I have a general idea, and I'm excited to dive deeper into that because I want to get better at it and be able to know off the top of my head, no matter what environment that is being thrown my way, I'm able to connect that. And so being in the AWS Restart program has given me that foundational cloud environment knowledge, so that when I'm working with my clients, I know what I'm asking for.
That is great. That is great. So what has been a big win for you? I know you're kind of still early in your career and you've come out of the program, but what's been a big win for you that you've experienced on this journey thus far? Kind of where you were like, yes, kind of a situation.
Well, I mean, I guess the biggest so far was passing my cloud practitioner exam. I was really like, oh my goodness, am I going to pass? People were like, it's fine, you'll do great. And I was a little bit apprehensive, but I studied, I practiced, and I passed. So I'm with high marks. So I'm really excited about that.
Congratulations. Congratulations. And I think lastly, kind of share with us what, having been a part of the AWS Restart program, what it's meant to you, and just in general, how it's impacted your life and your overall career journey.
So being part of that program definitely deepened my knowledge of core AWS services, Linux, Python, and Shell. But that's where I also had my first introduction to cybersecurity. And we had labs where we were able to practice. I love the labs. We were able to practice some of the things we were learning that were in the slides, and then being able to do the labs connected a lot of that information in my mind. And so when we did the cybersecurity portion, I was like, this sounds really interesting. And I did a lot more research. I found out you could do cloud security. So that part changed my life, because that is how I got to where I am today, because I started getting interested in cloud security. And when this position was opened up, I was able to apply to it because doing governance, risk, and compliance has to do with security. And so I'm really enjoying it, and it has definitely made an impact in that respect.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that, sharing your experience. Again, congratulations to you on your AWS certification. And again, congratulations to you on your successful completion of the Restart program and the wonderful opportunity that you're now a part of. So let's just kind of begin to just kind of pull it all together for those who are part of the session. I kind of want to go back around, little round robin, and get a sense of, as we're kind of starting to come to a close, of after having gone through this experience from each of your perspectives of engaging with AWS education programs, whether it's from, being an academic in one of our higher education member institutions that are part of the education programs, or whether it's as an employer or again as a graduate. What do you know now that you wish you knew before embarking on this collaboration or this engagement or this journey? I'm going to start with you, Pritpal. Share with us.
So I'll give a little bit more context to that, right? So from an organization standpoint, right? Currently, if we look at how the customers are moving, right? The move to cloud is very, very aggressive, right? So most of the businesses are either migrating their applications or their workloads or developing new apps into cloud, right? And the cloud has become essential to running our businesses. And this has resulted in the technology skills, specifically related to cloud, becoming premium in the market, right? And as we do just in time hiring, right, the talent shortage is very, very evident, right? So the programs such as AWS Restart, right, has helped us in building this talent in-house rather than just relying on the just-in-time hiring, right? So from a Capgemini perspective, we have focused a lot on junior talent, which is entry-level programs, right? And AWS Restart is one of the avenues from where we get a lot of these interns and entry-level candidates, and specifically focusing on either whether they are from ethnic minorities, women, or lower income backgrounds, right? So we have started integrating them as part of our organization DNA as well, right? So these programs, I would say, are key to ensure that we continue to build with the DNI within the organizations.
That is wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Pritpal. I'm going to come to you, Dr. Malachy. Share with us your insights, your feedback. What has been your experience in collaborating with education programs? What do you wish you knew then that you kind of, before you started this journey? What do you wish you knew before kind of embarking on this collaboration and engagement?
Okay, I guess I was very fortunate that our dean asked me to attend Amazon AWS conference in 2017. And before that, I never thought Amazon is doing cloud computing. But then I realized that Amazon is so big in cloud computing, and immediately we became one of the member institutions and started offering courses. And I know through AWS, Amazon and AWS provides opportunity for students, minorities, women, to take high-tech jobs as well as cloud computing jobs. And they also provide competitions that we often receive from Amazon. And I also realized that other colleges at the University of Houston contacted me, and they're asking to become member of AWS Academy.
Wow, that is wonderful. We're glad you took part in that first conference that started the journey to getting the University of Houston a part of the Academy program. We appreciate that. Dr. Soltis, I'm going to come to you. What has this experience in engaging with education programs been like for you? What do you know now that you wish you knew before embarking on this journey?
I'd like to start by commenting on something that Marilyn Honoré said. She made a very good point about companies looking for mid-level people. And this is difficult, especially in light of the great resign that business is going through. I think it's key for companies to understand that they need to hire young talent who just finished school, who has new and fresh ideas, and grow them to be mid-level managers, and to use that talent to free their own mid-level managers to do some of the more creative work while engaging with the younger colleagues. I think that was a very important point. Second thing, and I found this in time as well, and it surprised me, is that working with AWS workforce development, you're not really limited to placing your student with AWS. In fact, your students can end up working at Netflix or Adobe or Dropbox. All these companies are AWS workshops, and they need an AWS trained workforce to continue with their businesses. And lastly, for me, AWS became a feature when I had the research problem. That was about 4 or 5 years ago. I was running high performance computing algorithms trying to solve a problem in genetics. And the computers I had were heating up and vibrating on my desks and dying after 20 hours of computing. And somebody told me about the possibility of spinning up a virtual machine in the cloud that you can design according to your specifications and running my simulation there. And I did that. I ran it for 20 minutes. I got an answer. It cost me all of 5 cents, and I became hooked on AWS.
Great. Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Soltis. That's one of the, I'll piggyback on what Marilyn shared earlier, what you're sharing now about the resources that are available to students, to learners as they're going through the education programs. One of the hallmarks or benchmarks of the education programs is that it gives learners an opportunity to actually get that hands-on practical knowledge that's important for them to be impactful on day one. So within the curriculum, for instance, within the AWS Academy program, are built-in labs and opportunities. Marilyn was talking about it, to kind of get in and explore and actually work with the resources and the tools and kind of see what it's all about and perk interest, and even allow students in classrooms to be innovative and spin up resources. And the wonderful thing is programs like AWS Academy, there is no cost of doing so. And so it really gives an opportunity to train the next generation of IT and cloud professionals by giving them that real hands-on experience. And to the point you also mentioned, Dr. Soltis, about it's not just about, we talked about it earlier, we know that this pipeline, the demand, the shortage is in every industry. Current supply is nowhere near the current demand, and we know that shortage is going to continue to increase, and hence why AWS is invested in academia and invested in higher education to partner so that we can begin to impact that by creating this pipeline. And to your point, creating opportunities for early career talent to really get in and have an impact for organizations, not just AWS and Amazon, but also for our customers and partners as well, many of which that you mentioned also. So it's a full circle. And with that being said, I'm going to come back to you, Maureen, to kind of give us the final wrap up. What do you know now that you wish you knew before embarking on this journey? Share with us.
Oh, the pressure. Okay. Overall, I wish that I knew that it was not going to be as hard as I thought it would be. Although it was plenty hard, but it wasn't as hard and it was fun. And that there were so many ways to get into cloud security that I wasn't aware of, because I really thought I needed to know how to be a masterful coder and know how to pen test. And there are different areas you can get in there. So I wish I weren't afraid and I had just jumped in there. So I'm very grateful I did do it, though.
That is a wonderful point. See, that's wonderful. Thank you for bringing that out and sharing that. You know, one of the things that we really encourage, especially when we're working with underrepresented minority groups, you know, women, and one of the things we really talk about is seeing yourself in tech. That's one of the things that we really try to help groups to understand or kind of get over that obstacle or that hurdle of fear. A lot of times, diverse populations, underrepresented groups can't see themselves in tech and sometimes don't even see tech as fun. And to your point, it can be. And we're really trying to help impact that and helping individuals to see you can be a part of something that's innovative and fun, that changes and from day to day, that allows you to be creative and innovative and smart and really get in and impact bottom line outcomes. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that with us. Well, again, I want to thank all of you for being a part of this discussion, for being a part of sharing with those who are part of this session your insights, your perspective, again, from an academic perspective, higher education, as well as from an employer organizational perspective, as well as from the perspective of someone who's gone through one of the AWS education programs. What you shared has truly been insightful and enlightening. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for being a part. And we want to thank each and every one of you for joining us today. We hope and we do believe that you have gleaned something from the discussion that you can take back to your organization, your institution. And if you'd like to learn more about how to connect with AWS education programs, to connect with graduates, to fill entry-level tech roles, please scan the QR code that's on the slide and follow the prompts so that you can be connected with the appropriate program contacts. So again, we thank you so much for joining.